All right, back at the workbench, another crash. This one doesn't look too bad, so let's just grab the tools, try to repair this the best we can. I don't think it's going to be too bad this time. All right, we're looking good. Let's try it again. So we take off, we're flying around, it looks okay, and then for some reason, we get turned around again and we crash again. Why does this keep happening? The drone is destroyed again. I'm out hundreds more dollars, so I have to go back to the hobby shop again and say this.
Hi, how's it going? Yeah, I just crashed my quad again. You don't happen to have another one, do you? So let's play with this card here. No, actually, that one's maxed out. Let's do this one instead. I got miles for this too. Yeah, just go ahead and run this one. Another one, brand new. Here we go.
If that intro hits home for you guys, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and drop a like down below. FPV can be extremely frustrating, and it has a habit of driving people away with its expensive nature and steep learning curve. When I was first getting into this, it was very difficult to progress my skills, and it wasn't until much later I realized what I was doing wrong and how exactly that was holding me back. So today I want to share with you 3 things that I learned that finally helped me start to progress as an FPV pilot. At a high level, these 3 things I believe all work together to make improvement faster and easier for you. So if you're a beginner and you can't seem to get the hang of FPV, maybe you keep crashing all the time, you've come to the right place. Now let's jump right into it. Durability and reliability are your best friends. As a beginner, it's already very difficult to control the drone without crashing. The last thing you need is for your drone to be breaking or malfunctioning all the time, which limits how much time you can actually spend practicing on the sticks with your drone in the air. Now, when I first started out, I made all of my drones off my own designs on my 3D printer with very brittle material. I sourced some of the cheapest components I can find just to get something in the air for as cheap as possible. I treated it more as a design challenge than an actual hobby. While this did allow me to learn how a quad is put together and how all the different components work, it really held me back when it comes to actual pilot progression, my skills on the sticks as a pilot. I spent way more time printing, assembling, soldering, troubleshooting than I did actually flying the drone in the air. And it took almost a year of doing this before I finally broke down and bought a proper frame with decent components to throw in it. There are many different parts and brands out there these days, and they can be tempting with the low price point, but seriously, just avoid the cheap stuff. It really is not worth it. It'll break a lot more than it works, and it really does hold you back as a pilot. So don't buy something just because it's cheap, because I promise you, you will either be sacrificing durability, reliability, or both. Now, I also wanted to mention, don't get too caught up optimizing performance and reducing the weight of your drone when you're first starting out. These kinds of things tend to reduce the durability and the reliability of your drone, and you just want to steer clear of that if you're first starting out as a beginner. As you progress and become more comfortable on the sticks and acquire more skills as a pilot, that's the time to start adding that stuff in. That's when you'll really notice a difference for those things. But if you're first starting, just steer clear. Prioritize durability and reliability. Do not make them a sacrifice. Second lesson I learned is to have a mindset of build versus buy. This tip feeds right into the previous one in that if you do crash your drone and something breaks, having this mindset, you will already know how to repair the drone, or what component you need to buy, how to get it working, how to get it up in the air again. And also, chances are you probably learned that if you did something a little differently, you maybe could have protected that component or prevented that arm from breaking. So if you're serious about improving your skills and you're not just kind of a weekend pilot, prioritize building over buying. There are many different ready-to-fly and bind-and-fly drones out there, and they definitely have their place in the hobby. I just don't think that place is in pilots that really want to take it seriously and get better. I believe the best way is to build your own drone, at least on some level. So maybe instead of getting a ready-to-fly drone, maybe go for one of the pre-assembled kits instead. It'll come with all the components you need, it'll have everything laid out for you, and you can still put it together. Doing it this way kind of forces you to learn the basic skills, and that'll really help you down the line when you start crashing and stuff starts breaking. As I mentioned before, 3D printing and building my own quad designs was a terrible choice in many ways, but the one thing it was really good for is teaching me how the quad works and how to repair it effectively. You just have to remember that if you want to improve, you really do just have to put the time in. And you can't put the time in if your drone is always broken. Okay, last tip. This one is a very tough pill to swallow because FPV is notoriously cost prohibitive. Everyone knows that. It is very expensive and that's why more people don't get into it. But the simple truth is this: if you want to improve as a pilot, you need to push yourself out of your comfort zone. If you want to learn how to do power loops, you have to actually go and do power loops. Or if you just want to learn to cruise around without crashing, you have to go actually cruise around and try not to crash. But if you do crash, it's not a big deal because your quad should be durable and reliable and you should know how to repair it. See, all these things kind of work together. They all feed off each other to make the experience faster and easier for you. Convincing yourself to huck your quad over that horizontal bar or go through that tiny dive gap, it can be very scary, very unnatural, but I promise you, the feeling you get when you actually make it is satisfaction like none other. The hesitation to harm your drone and crash is something that we all have. It's like a mental block, kind of like self-preservation before your drone. And that feeling does eventually get a little bit easier. It never completely goes away, but it does get easier. I can promise you that. But until you get to that point, unfortunately, you do have to deal with some pretty hard slams first. Now, I'm not saying you should run outside right now and send your drone into a brick wall trying to learn a trick. I'm not trying to say that. You should always practice whatever you want to do in a simulator first. When I'm trying to learn a new trick, I will spend hours and hours and hours in the simulator just on that one trick, trying to get it perfect before I even consider going outside and trying the real thing. Only when I understand what exactly the drone is doing in the air and why I have to move the sticks the way I do to get it to do that thing, do I actually go outside and try that trick in real life. I would seriously recommend doing the same thing. Get very comfortable in the sim first before you actually go try what you want to try with your real quad. The simulator to real life transition is very difficult for some. I mean, we all know that, but that's a topic for another day. But the bottom line is this: the more comfortable you are on the sim, the more comfortable you will be when it comes time to do the real thing in person with your real quad. But you have to realize that at some point, if you want to learn something with your quad, you actually have to go and do that thing with your quad in real life, not behind the computer. And that's very hard to make peace with. That took me a very, very long time to convince myself to just send it, just go for it. But once you convince yourself to do that, and once you convince yourself to finally push those boundaries, you really start to see improvement a lot faster than before. It'll be very uncomfortable, you will crash and burn a lot, but it's all part of the process. Just trust the process. Alright, that's going to do it for this one. If you just got into FPV and you're a beginner and you just can't seem to progress past a basic level, I feel your pain. I feel your frustration. Believe me, I have been there. But just like any other skill, you really do just have to put the time in, keep doing repetitions over and over and over, weather the storm of crashes, and then you will eventually start to see improvement. I learned all of these the hard way. I continue to learn some of these the hard way, but I hope that my failures can help some of you out there that are just getting into this progress a little bit faster and easier. But if you liked this video and learned something today, I'd appreciate if you hit that subscribe button and drop me a like down below. If you got something else on your mind, I'm always open to comments. I love hearing feedback from the community, especially about topics like this. I feel that these are the types of things that are key to expanding our hobby in the future and keeping it around for years to come. So until next time, keep ripping, keep crashing, and keep learning. See you on the next one.